So let's try a little thought experiment, if we can. So we hear, there are Nazi rallies, KKK rallies, other groups, hate groups, stuff like that. And they get together and they protest and they wear their little hoods and they wear their little Nazi uniforms and what have you. Richard Spencer was in Florida. The governor declared a state of emergency because one dude was coming to a college to speak to, I assume, an audience that wanted to hear what he had to say. So we hear frequently that words are painful. Words can hurt you. That's why, Antifa and the students are rioting in Berkely, and the governor of Florida declares a state of emergency, and there's protesters and hecklers, and this Spencer guy, I guess he's a Nazi. I don't know. White supremacist or what have you. And they want to restrict the freedom of these guys to speak. Same thing is happening with the Christy Winters gang and Sargon, the whole MythCon business. But let's stick with the Nazis and the KKK, white supremacists, these type groups. Well, the words they speak, words are not hurtful. Now, some of these groups might be saying bad things like N-words and Jews or K-words and crap like that. And that is harmful, of course, racial slurs and whatever. But in general, I listened to the Richard Spencer talk, and okay, whatever. One would think that in our country, with mature adults, mostly, we would hope, we would want people like Richard Spencer and the KKK and the white supremacists and the Nazis. We would want these people to be able to speak so we can look at them and laugh and say, what the hell is wrong with these people? Leave it up to people to decide if these guys are nut jobs, which probably most of them are, or not. But we hear the argument on the SJW side of things, including Antifa and Feminists and the college students and whatever, that these people should not even have the right to speak. Even though in the United States, and I know in Europe and you guys, a little different, but here we do have the First Amendment, which the government cannot forbid you from speaking your mind. In certain cases, if you incite violence or what have you. I mean, there are limitations. But in general, if you have an idea and you want to stand on a soapbox somewhere and scream it out at the top of your lungs, and if people want to listen to you, hey, they can listen. If they don't have to. So people showing up at these rallies, I guess, and this speech by Spencer evidently wanted to hear what this man had to say. Likely there were a lot of people there that just wanted to mock him for being a freaking white supremacist who, I guess one of his ideas is to get rid of all black people or some crazy shit. That's what free speech is all about. He says this nonsense and we react to it by saying this guy's a freaking nut job. Or what's the other possibility? I mean, you can speak words. Words generally don't hurt. For example, racial slur. That's painful. Or someone denying the Holocaust, whatever the case may be. It can be individually painful. But in general, guy gives a speech, he has some really crazy ideas. He should be and is allowed to say these things. So why do you think it's so important for these people to be deplatformed? Deplatform these people. Now, of course, the protesters were there expressing their right to free speech. I'm not talking about people who are heckling this guy. I'm talking about people who are committing violence. They're breaking things and they're burning shit down and they're starting cars on fire and they're getting physically violent, all to stop free speech. It's not the words they're worried about. What they're worried about is the words that these people speak. Some of the listeners might, you know what? I'm going to join that movement. I like what this Richard Spencer is saying. I think all black people should be put back in Africa, or whatever garbage nonsense he spews. In other words, they could get followers. Their group could grow in influence. I mean, that's typically the reason why you see in Nazi Germany, for example, there was no anti-Hitler stuff allowed. You couldn't say that sort of thing. If you said something about Hitler that didn't comport with the viewpoint of the Führer, you were sent to a concentration camp, if not just outright shot. Pretty totalitarian. So what if the Richard Spencers have their speeches and they gain followers? Well, of course, these guys are spewing nonsense ideas. It's not the words they fear. It's that the words will swell their numbers. Let's take a look at Milo Yiannopoulos, Ben Shapiro, Ann Coulter, Christina Hoff Sommers, all of these people that are trying to speak on college campuses. And the claim from the SJW Antifa types who are burning the fucking college down around the speaker in some cases is that words are harmful. Ben Shapiro is a Nazi. Ben Shapiro is a devout Jew, for God's sake. Milo Yiannopoulos is a homophobe. Milo's a gay man. He's a racist. He likes black men. So all this crap they're saying is just freaking nonsense. But it's sort of a one-size-fits-all. Just throw some shit at the wall and call them whatever. And it's almost as if they don't think their way through these things sometimes. I mean, Shapiro shows up with a yarmulke every time he speaks. And he says, yeah, I'm a 165-pound Jewish kid, skinny, and you have $6 million in freaking costs for security because of his words. No. What they are afraid of is their nonsense will be exposed with facts and data. And people like Ben Shapiro and Milo and some of these other speakers are out there giving data and facts to refute these people. Words do not hurt. However, I guess in the eyes of the SJW types, the truth does hurt. And the more truth that gets out there, the more data, the more facts, the more reality. People in the audience might say, you know what, Shapiro? You've got some pretty good points there. I never thought of this. I've always heard this other stuff that was opposite of what you say, but you bring a reasoned argument and data and evidence, and I'm going to start following you. The movement gets bigger. There's more and more people that look at what's going on with the SJWs. They pull the masks off, pun intended, with the Antifa people. And they're starting to see the light of day called the truth and reality. And they're starting to see that the feminists and SJWs, same side of a coin. They're all going for socialism. Now, you could call it cultural Marxism. You could call it flat-out socialism. Bernie bros, they wanted socialism with Bernie when he ran. I mean, the mask is barely there the way it is. But the true fear is that more and more people will get the truth, or at least facts and data that they can make up their own mind about what's going on. The left does not want that. Why do you think they burn down buildings and smash windows? Because Ben Shapiro is saying a few things, maybe making a joke about a fat woman or some crazy stuff. Oh, no. Words are harmful. Oh, the special snowflakes need their safe space. Has nothing to do with it. The words are facts and truth, data that many people have not been exposed to. Especially if you listen to the mainstream media, the typical lefty outfits. You don't hear the real news. You don't hear the real data. You hear biased reporting. Omission is also a sin. And so Ben Shapiro and Coulter and these people are out there bringing facts, data, evidence to the table and spreading it to the masses. Just like the Barings and the Sargons and the Stefan Molyneux and all of these guys, Aaron Clary and Dr. Randomer Cam, Goodfella, all these people. Fact-based arguments with supported data, which might convince people, even expose them for the very first time to a contrary set of facts and data that doesn't support the lefties. You see how this works? It's not words. They're worried about people seeing the light. And that is why they set cars on fire and beat people up. It's not because Ben Shapiro is a freaking Nazi. is because Ben Shapiro is telling the truth. James Maxwell, thanks for listening.